Welcome to the Tampa Native Show. Stay tuned now for the most entertaining 60 minutes from the studios at TBCN. Join your hosts, Mario Nunez and Steve Canella, as they celebrate growing up in Tampa. From Shakey's to Shock Armstrong, Braddock Street and Buffalo Avenue, get ready to call in and tell us your stories, because sharing your memories has never been this much fun. The Tampa Native Show is brought to you by the Columbia Restaurant. And now, here's your hosts, Mario Nunez and Steve Canella. Welcome back, everyone, to this, the 5th edition of the Tampa Native Show. I'm Mario Nunez alongside my broadcast partner,
Steve Canella.
Steve, I can't believe we're into week 5 already.
Mario, it's going by so fast. I can't believe it. It's so much fun, too.
It's going by incredibly fast. And listen, we just want to take a minute to thank everybody for joining us again and giving up your Wednesday evening. We know that there's a game over there in St. Pete at that place that they call the Trop that's probably drawing a lot of interest right now. But we're thankful and we're happy that you're here with us. Steve, it's been a great ride so far. I tell you what, we need to go ahead and get a little bit of business out of the way early. Tell them a little bit about what happened this past weekend to us.
Well, Mario, we just had a great time. We had a bunch of Tampa natives at the beach today, or Sunday. It was just a fabulous time. We had about 30 people, didn't we? 30 people?
About 25 to 30 people showed up. You know, we put out that call on that social networking site, and lo and behold, everybody showed up. And it was a great time. We had some new people there with us, and we were tickled to death that they're there. And they were there with us, and we thanked them so much for coming out. We had a meal afterwards at a little Italian bistro over there at the beach, and it was fabulous. And we'll be doing some more stuff like that here in the fall, so stay tuned for more get-togethers. Also, we had a pretty good lunch today, did we not?
Oh, that was fun today. We had a great time.
Well, who was there at that lunch today, Steve?
Well, we had Ted Webb, we had Fran Constantino, yourself, myself. We had a couple others joining us as well.
Gary Kyle, that's right.
Gary
Tony
Kyle.
Garcia.
Yeah, exactly.
And listen, Ted, thank you for being there with us today and inspiring us and giving us a little pep talk. You realize how great it was to be there with you and sharing a laugh. And Franny, thanks for putting that together.
That was great.
Also, last week we got a tremendous number of emails after the show. And I tell you what, inspiring that was too. And we've got them here. And before we get to our phones, and we've already seen the lights are lining up, and tell you this week's topic, we're going to read a couple of those emails because we have to. We have to acknowledge some of them. And the first one Steve's going to read to you. Get a load of where this cat was watching the show from. Go ahead, Steve.
Mario, this is amazing. This is from Rick Parnell, and this is what he writes. Saw the show from Brazil. It faded in and out, but I did catch it. Millions not too far from our neighborhood. Had delicious burgers, chicken. He used to come down and umpire the Little League games at Riverside Little League down the street. I was going to call and let you know about the location of Get and Go, which we talked about last week, and which later became the Custard Cup. Thanks for the memories, you guys. You have good chemistry, and I will email. It'll be much easier. Ciao, Rick from Brazil.
All the way from Brazil.
It's amazing.
That is impressive. The next email is from Esther De Pedro, and Esther wrote, goody goodies, the coconut pie with my abuelo, Sea Breeze croquetas, Segunda Central pan, Valencia Gardens paella, and Waters Flea Market churros. And that was from Esther De Pedro. And Alan Tenori writes also, Latam on Columbus Street. How did we forget Latam last week? Steve.
Mario, this is good. This is Beverly Smethurst, and she writes this. My friend Mel Ayers told me a story about how when Elvis Presley was in town, he would come to the diner, Mel's Diner, late at night, and when it was closed to eat, so he'd come in after they closed. Mel is the son of the owner of Ayers Diner.
That's pretty cool.
Very interesting. Also, we have another email from Joseph Abim, who we met Sunday as well at the beach.
Joe was out there at the beach.
That was great. Great meeting Joe. He writes, Get and Go on Florida and Osborne. Kids from HHS, Hillsborough High School, 1965 or 1966, skipped school at lunch, then quickly back for class at HHS, 1967. We have another email from Vince Calora. Vince, thanks for writing. He writes, hey guys, we did eat at downtown Morrison's. We ate often at the El Carmelo on Armenia. Mario?
Next is an email from Mike White. Mike says, okay guys, Mike White here. This could take all night with all different categories, but I'll just mention the first ones that come to mind. It was South Tampa, where I grew up during the 50s and the 60s, and south of Gandy on Himes. Whichever Air Force mom was bringing us kids back from the base pool, we would always stop for fantastic sandwiches at Peter Deemer's. That's just one of the ones that popped into my head, and it's one of the ones that I remember most fondly. But hey, there are so many. There was Jerry's, Frisch's, the Colonnade, Mirabella's, Las Novedades, De Piero's, I'm gaining weight just remembering those lovely memories, and we sorely miss those restaurants. Keep it up. We love you. That was from Mike White. Also, we have one from Joanna Hernandez, and Joanna writes, Mercedes was my uncle's mother-in-law. I remember going there as a kid, too. It was a hot spot on Mother's Day. All the women with their flowers, and they would line up, and the line would wrap around the building. They had the best empanadas and arroz con pollo. I'm sure my Aunt Sandra and Uncle Dan have tons of memories and stories. Thanks for posting the photo. That was from Joanna Hernandez.
Mario, this is from Kelly McClellan. She writes, one of the greatest franchises, Drew Parks, Sam Seltzer Steakhouse, great prime rib, by the way. But sorry, the most memorable, Shakey's Pizza Parlor and Ye Public House. The best pizza, the best brew, and tons of fun and singing. The one on Del Mabry near Gandy. Good times.
Jim Hamlet writes, and I'll take the next couple, Steve.
Okay.
Jim Hamlet writes, I remember driving up to the Colonnade and the servers hanging the trays on the windows. Valencia Gardens, rest in peace, as we know Valencia recently closed, was a twice-a-month dinner for the family, and Café Sevilla, I can vaguely remember me, a Davis Island native. Café Sevilla was wonderful also. Connie Rose writes, Steve Mario, good luck on tonight's show. The Silver Ring was my favorite place for Cuban sandwiches, and Alessi Bakery for deviled crabs. And help me out with that pizza place that starts with an S. Have to run to get ready for my show. Catch you guys tonight. And Connie, I think that pizza place that starts with an S was probably Shakey's.
It's got to be, Mario.
Let me keep rolling here, Steve. Maria Garcia writes, 4 places. JD's Soup and Sandwich Shop on the corner of 7th Avenue and 21st Street. Best Café con Leche and Cubans. The Old Pizza Parlor on Dale Mabry between Cypress and Kennedy Boulevards was known for their salad. We talked about that last week. Ayers Diner on Dale Mabry, the best breakfast spot late at night. And the Steak and Ale was located on Dale Mabry and Waters Avenue, a popular dinner spot in the evening back in the 70s.
Wow.
I'll continue going forward because what you guys can't see right now at home is we have a producer on set, a technical guy on set, and he's working furiously to try to get our emails up. So I'm just going to continue to read, and AJ will stay off camera. Xenia Machine Gallo writes, how about the Sweden House Smorgasbord on Dale Mabry next to the Hawaiian Village? Had lots of business luncheons there. Julio Medero writes, remember La Habanera Drugstore on Howard and Spruce? Westtown Theater, La Russa Hardware, Florida Cafe, all of these places were great. My father owned the drugstore. How about Lee's Roller Rink on Armenia and Columbus? That from Julio Medero. Hetty Dorado writes, I also used to go to that rink. What fun. Too bad they were closed on Wednesdays. I love to go to the Seabreeze restaurant, famous for their spaghetti and crab meat sauce. When I moved to Miami, we used to stop there to eat on the way back. So much fun to remember. I also remember when Xenia came from Cuba with her mom and her brother. Their first stop was at my house. Many memories, right, Xenia? So Xenia and Hetty, apparently they know each other from a little while back. Steve, why don't you take this next one? This is from Fran, and you know what? If it just so happens that you see AJ still working, then you can't see AJ. AJ's doing a great job of hiding. Go ahead, Steve, take this one.
Can't see him at all. Yeah, sure will, Mario. This is from Fran Constantino, who we saw today at lunch, and she was, I mentioned last week, the unofficial.
Yeah, the honorary member of Ybor City.
Exactly. Anyway, she writes, you can start by asking my generation about Manny DiCastro, the security guard at McFarland Park. The guy was the Barney Fife of West Tampa. He had a badge but no gun. All our fall festivals, carnivals were held at McFarland Park. We were well warned not to go to the top of the hill to make out or hold hands, and boys and girls were not allowed to play together. Nuns kept us separated, or we were going to burn in hell. The West Tampa Optimist Club, St. Joseph School, Sam Lato, and the West Tampa Sheriff Association, many of the political rallies had all their events there. Manny DiCastro had been there so long that he knew all the parents and grandparents who could not keep up with the growing population of kids, and therefore he knew us. But he didn't know who belonged to us. So the story here, the funniest line of his was ever, when we were busted, he would get his badge, flashlight, and shine in our faces, and he knew he recognized us, but he couldn't put the child to the parent in order to report us and get us in trouble. He would crack up in his Cuban accent and would shout, I know your mother, I know your father, what's your name? And poor guy tried, but he couldn't keep up with us. Fun times, always kidding, always hiding from Manny DiCastro. Good luck tonight. I'll try if I can get through, and good luck. Fran Constantino. Thanks, Fran.
Keep going. You're doing great. Read the next one.
Okay, this is from Edie Strickland. Again, great show, guys. Glad to hear from Kim Mueller. You guys are too funny. And now this is a great one too. This from Phil Testa. He writes, just wanted to congratulate you on a great show. My wife and I watched the entire show last night and we were both delighted. Can't wait for next week's show. It is so good to look back at our town and remember the things when things were not so complicated and life was just more than just survival. It is true that youth is wasted on the young. We have to sit back and look back when we were kids and really enjoy our town. Keep up the good work. Great job. Phil Testa. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. And lastly, we can't go on to the next segment without reading this. And again, last week's segment, if you're just joining us, was about restaurants, diners, luncheonettes, those that were here back in the 50s and 60s and even 70s that are no longer with us. And this particular email is, for me, particularly entertaining. Last Wednesday's show was very enjoyable. However, there was one restaurant that was not mentioned, the Little Beaver. It was located on Dale Mabry across from Montgomery Wards where Walmart is today, next to the interstate near Cypress and Dale Mabry on the property that houses Rooms to Go, the wine store, and Home Depot. On August 1959, the 4th annual Miss Disc Jockey Dance was held at Fort Homer Hesterly Armory, and my future wife then, Irene Monjovi, was a contestant. My band, the Rockers, provided the musical entertainment for the event. After the dance, I asked Irene if she would like to get something to eat and drink, and she said I would have to ask her parents who attended the event. I asked her parents, and they said it would be all right. We went to the Little Beaver restaurant and became high school sweethearts, married 2 years later, and have been married for 49 years. Our lucky number for the drawing tonight is number 73. Keep up the good work. Onelio and Irene Ochoa, personal friends of mine, and I got through that without cracking up. Thank you so much for that, Irene and
Great
Onelio.
email.
We're still working on getting our emails up, but this is the time when we're going to go ahead and turn the show over to this week's topic. And Steve and I have had a blast all week because we have been, well, needless to say, there are too many incidences for us to go over, but ready to give him the topic, Steve?
Mario, I'm really excited about this topic.
All right,
really excited.
give it to him, Steve. Go ahead.
This is what were the crazy things you did as a kid and lived to tell about it. And I know we all have those stories, and it's going to be a great topic tonight.
Well,
in fact, the phones are already lighting up.
The crazy, silly things we did as children and lived to tell about it. What we usually do at this point in the show before we go to the phone lines is we tell ours. I'm going to let Steve go first. Stevie, well, I hope you can get through this without cracking up. Go ahead.
Well, Mario, aside from, it was a completely different world back then, you know, when we were growing up, and
Absolutely.
we all did some crazy things. But myself, if I wasn't playing with firecrackers, M80s, climbing trees to the top of oak trees, carrying lumber to build tree forts, or swimming in lakes with alligators, I mean, aside from that, my friends and I, we're like the typical R gang kids growing up. We even had a little Petey, the dog, was actually a big German Shepherd that followed us everywhere. But we made cannons. We basically made cannons, and we would shoot oranges.
Did you say cannons?
Cannons.
Cannons?
We would shoot oranges.
Okay.
Oh, it was. We were very creative. You know, we weren't inside.
And how did you make those cannons, Steve?
Well, basically, I don't want to go into too much detail. It was a long time ago, but basically they're about 5 feet long, and they would shoot oranges maybe several blocks.
How did you make them? What did you
we
make
made
them out of?
We made them out of Coke cans. You know, we would kind of bind them all together, cut the tops and bottoms out, make them into a big tube. Right. A little bit of lighter fluid in the bottom, and a match, and you got a cannon.
And how old were you at the time you were doing this?
Probably 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, in that range.
And tell us, because I know, tell the audience out there at home who's probably wondering how you ever made it through high school. Tell them what you did with that.
Mario,
yeah,
it's amazing that I'm even here all in one piece, actually, and for the things we did as kids. But with the cannons, this is an amazing story too. Not only did we play with these all day long, but my parents were okay with it too, and all the parents were they're fine with it. But this gets even better. There was a science project at our elementary school, and myself and a friend of mine lived down the street, Leonard, right. And we actually took these cannons to school, lighter fluid and all, matches, and...
And your parents let you out of the house with those?
They thought it was a great idea,
yeah.
And said, hope you win first place, and we did win first place.
It was a science experiment.
It was a science experiment. The principal and the coach, they said, are you sure this is safe? And I said, yeah, we do it at home all the time, no problem. And they, okay, well, go back a little bit into the field, and let's do your experiment. But can you imagine that happening this day and age?
No, I can't really. I can't.
Oh my gosh!
The first thing they would do is call out the hazmat team.
The first.
And right behind that, there'd be the bomb squad. You would get arrested. Your parents would get put in.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different time that we're living in. Let me tell you mine, Stevie.
Let's hear it.
That was wonderful, and I'm gonna tell you mine real quick. 2 of them. They're real brief. I don't know what ever possessed me, but I was standing in the front yard of a friend's house, neighbor's house down the street, and I had a slingshot. You know, slingshots were very popular back in the day. And I had a slingshot, and down the street came a car. And I'm standing in broad daylight in the front yard of this house, and I said, watch this, guys. I'm going to hit the tire of that car that's moving down the street with this slingshot. I had a BB in there, a bead or something, and I pulled back and I took aim and I let it go. And sure enough, it went boing. It didn't hit the tire, but it hit the hubcap. And of course, at that point, the car stops. Everybody's laughing and going, oh my God, he actually did it. And of course, the car stopped and backed up very slowly. Right about that time, the window came down in the car, and the gentleman that was sitting in the driver's seat, he kind of pointed at me. He summoned me over to the car. Well, at that point, I took the slingshot and I conspicuously hit it behind my back, walked over to the car. Matter of fact, it's broad daylight, mind you, and I'm in the front yard. I'm not even behind a berm or a blind or anything. And he looks at me and he goes, son? I said, yes, sir. He goes, you see that there? And he was pointing at his radio. That would have been a police car that I shot in the front tire in broad daylight. And he let me go, and I promised I would never shoot another car with that slingshot again. But that was an amazing shot. The other one was standing again, front porch outside. This was back in the time when we rode our bikes and we thought we were doing wheelies and we were tough guys and we were going to ride our bikes. Well, one of my buddies was riding his bike, and he had a big kind of a beach cruiser bike, not real good for doing wheelies. Anyway, he's trying his darndest to get that thing up, and he's pulling it back, and he's pulling it back, and we're watching him come down the street, and every time he drops it, he just bangs that front tire, and pulls it back up and bangs that front tire. Well, one time he pulled it up like that real hard, and the front tire went off the bike, and it went out about 5 feet in front of him, and when those two forks hit the ground, and that bike stuck, he went over the front of it, wiped out. After we picked ourselves up off the floor laughing, we ran out to check on him. Of course, he had a big gash in his chin. It was hilarious. But anyway, these were the days. So we want to hear now from you guys. We would love to hear your stories. And we know you have them because we've been talking to you all week. So if we can get Jeff to go ahead and put that number up there now on the screen with the email address. And Steve, give him that number. I know you know the number by heart.
Mario,
give it to him.
I've got it memorized. It's 813-254-7820. That's 813-254-7820. Be sure to call in. Let's hear your stories. In fact, no matter who you talk to, Mario, everybody has their own crazy thing you did as a kid story, don't they? I mean, and not only that, when they tell the story, their eyes light up. You get a twinkle in their eye.
We heard one
It's
today,
amazing.
We heard one today from Ted Webb. We've been talking to people all week about the topic, and people have just been telling us from standing on the street and throwing oranges over the house at oncoming vehicles, or people passing by on bicycles. I mean, playing in the ditch. Who didn't play in the ditch back then? We didn't have much as far as entertainment. We didn't have the Wii and the Nintendo and all those different fancy stuff. So we spent a lot of time outside. I was never inside. Steve, you were never inside.
Mario, I was never inside. You know what? Aside from Saturday cartoons, I mean, we had no cable, we had no internet, no video games. So we were outside. We were very creative. We made our own games. We created everything, and including the cannons. But
I can't believe that. Oh, we got a caller on line 4, Stevie. Let's see what this man or lady has to say. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. You're our first caller tonight.
All right, this is Big Mike, Michael Padrina, and love you guys. Watching the show, it's coming great on the internet.
Thanks,
Hi,
Mike.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, you're talking about that. Let me ask you something. Mario, is it Fuakata, Pakata, when you pull that BB back and hit that rim? Or Rakata?
No, it was any combination of the three, Mike. I'm going to be honest with you. It was, Fuakata is how you feel when you're feeling badly. Rakata is a noise that maybe makes when you knock something over at your house. What was the other one?
Wakata.
Yeah, no, I think I want to say Huacata because when I pulled that slingshot back and I'm tracking now. You gotta picture this. I'm in the front yard. I'm like 11 years old and I'm tracking. Again, I'm not in any camo. I didn't take my invisible pill that morning, so I'm in full view of the car, and I let it go, and I was impresionante. I'm going to hit the tire on this car. Well, I didn't hit the tire, but if you think about it, I hit the actual hub. I hit the center part, which made the boing. And then, of course, at that point, the policia stopped.
I don't think it's any of the above. Fakata, the Rakata is Boeing.
Well, on that particular day, Mike, it was Boeing. Oh, yeah, I got to ask you, you're watching us from Orlando.
Yes.
How's the reception?
Oh, dude, I'll tell you what. Good. Actually, on the internet, it's extremely, it's a little grainy, but at first, you know what? I've been warming it up for 2 hours because I wanted to watch a show. So I'm just letting you know this. It looks great. It really does.
Good.
Okay. Were you with us? Were you with us when we entered the B-roll at the beginning of the show? Were you there when we ran the new intro to the intro?
Yeah, I did. It's awesome, dude. I got to say, a whole Latino thing. And I got to tell you something.
Tell me.
Speaking of Luis, you put on there. I've been checking everything out, which is the main man from Tampa. There's another guy I called, and in Nashville, Manny Yanis, another Tampa native that's a great musician. I'm going to give him a shout out. But also, I love the show. And talking about the ditches, I used to be the doctor of West Tampa because they used to get the tadpoles out of the operating room.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
That wasn't so good, though, because none of them survived.
Where did the tadpoles go? Oh, yeah. We talked about it today. Where have the tadpoles gone? Where have the grasshoppers? Because, you know, back then they were the benign green ones that you could catch them and you can play with them. You can keep them for a little while. Yeah. You can't find the green ones anymore. Now you find those big salvajes that are, you know, multicolored and they're creepy and they walk on your fence like this and they're kind of scary. And then also, whatever happened to the fireflies, Mike?
The fireflies? You know what? I think the mosquito man killed all those.
Oh, everybody that we've talked, it's funny you say that because everybody that we've talked to has said the same thing.
You know what? To this day, I was following that in a bicycle, and no mosquitoes mess with me at all anymore.
Wow. Well, you know what? You ingested that all inside of you, and now you're mosquito-proof, brother. But hey, we want to thank you very much for being there, Mike. We know you're one of our bigger fans because you've been following this show.
Today, one guy in North Carolina with all these old Tampa natives, and I got in touch with them. Let them know about the show. You guys are doing a terrific job.
Good.
And yeah, they're watching. So
if you should happen to send in an email down the road, and I'm telling this to everybody that's out there watching, make sure that you include a number with it because everybody's sending us emails, and we're grateful for the emails, and they're fabulous emails. We've read most of them here.
What I did, I asked you for a 5XL shirt, and you said, "Man, you have a big Mike. You got to lay out the guava pastry."
You know, I mean, it's true. It's true. It's true. Because the 5X, I don't even know if they make it that big. Well, you're not 5X, Mike. Come on now, be serious.
Oh, 5. You know, it's kind of tight on me.
Okay. Well, no, anytime, call us anytime, and we appreciate you being there. Okay.
Come see you guys at one of your events.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much.
All the way from, love you. Doing a great.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All the way from Orlando.
Wow, that's great.
Big Mike.
Mario, you know another thing too with the lightning bugs when we were kids, we tried to catch them in a little jar. And we were going to make our own little flashlight, a living flashlight, you know, with it. But
oh yeah, somebody wrote that in today in an email.
Did they? Okay.
I think that was Andy Green. I want to say it was Andy Green that wrote, and he said, "Hey man, do you guys remember how to make our own nightlight?"
Oh, well, same thing. We're doing the same thing.
I guess it was.
Wow.
But you know what? And if you've ever found yourself in another location other than Tampa, because lightning bugs still exist. Lightning bugs, and not the one that's over there at the Ice Palace, you know, at the St. Pete Times Forum, that lightning bug that runs around with at the hockey games. But we all, you know, they still exist because I've been different places across the country and you see them. And when you see them again after you haven't seen them for so long, it really just kind of takes you back.
It brings it all back.
It's kind of cool.
You know, Maureen, another interesting thing, and by the way, let's remind people to call in. It's 813-254-7820.
Lines are open.
Operators
are standing by.
And also, all the things we're talking about, do not try this at home.
No. We should run that disclaimer
across
the bottom.
You know, we should.
You know, no animals were harmed during the description of these acts because, I mean, we could talk about animals too. I mean, you know, who didn't take a magnifying glass from the, from their drawer in the science room and take it home and see if you could, you know, because back then we got our groceries home in a paper sack.
That's right.
That's right. And paper sacks were very, shall we say, flammable or combustible.
Oh, yeah.
And you take that. Yeah, you would take that. Here we go. Line 4 is up. Let's see who's on line 4. Take this one, Steve.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Hello, caller.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
This is who?
Casey.
Casey. Hi,
All
Casey.
right.
What's up, little buddy?
Hi, Casey. How are you, Skipper?
How's it going?
Doing good, thank you.
Thank you for calling in because we talked a little bit earlier this week. Tell us your story.
Yes, thank you for the reminder email, or I would have probably forgotten again.
Hey, listen, in this business, it's all about promotion, promotion, promotion. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. I can't remember what year it was, but I was probably about, 10 years old or so. And my parents got a brand new refrigerator delivered to the house.
There we go. This is a refrigerator box story from Tampa.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is going to be good.
Okay, and what was one of the biggest toys we had back then?
Biggest toys?
A box.
The box.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The box itself.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So we had several of the neighborhood kids came over, and us in our infinite wisdom at that age decided, you know, it would be fun. Let's play a fun game. Let's put one person in the box. And we found it was like a mop stick that had a metal handle on it. And we said, the one person gets in the box, and we'll take turns throwing the stick through the box and try to hit the person.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Listen.
Yeah, I went in there, several people went in there, we're throwing it through there, no one gets hit, Well, my brother takes his turn, and he gets in there, and I throw it, and all of a sudden, this blood-curdling scream comes out.
Oh, no.
Mother comes running out of the house, and he comes out of the pocket.
That's pretty funny story there.
I caught him right in the side of the head,
Oh, no.
wide open, and she ended up having to take him to the hospital for stitches, but when she got home, she had a metal handle fly swatter that she hung in the kitchen.
Ready for Casey.
Yeah, metal fly swatter hung in the kitchen next to the old the can opener.
Of course.
It was on a hinge. They had screwed into the wall.
Of course, the big one this way, this way.
So I got a taste of the fly swatter.
Oh, wow. Casey, you know, listen, it's hard for, when we go back and we think about these times, how do we survive it? B, our parents were at some points laissez-faire about supervision on these things. In other words, like, Steve was going to tell a little story a little bit later on about, he told us a couple weeks ago about riding horses over there off of waters. And, Steve had never been on a horse before. But yeah, when he told his mom, hey, Mom, a few of us are going to go over there and ride some horses, Mom didn't say, sweetie, now, you've never ridden a horse before, and you might want to be careful. She said, okay, baby, have fun.
Have a good time.
Just like, have fun, go ahead, ride, play in the ditch. Watch out for traffic.
Like you said earlier, it's a different world.
Different world.
It is, but hey, I wouldn't trade it for anything anything in our history. This time that we're talking about here was the best because we didn't have much, but man, we had fun.
We had fun.
We'd go out with a rock and a stick and make a game out of it. It was great. Case, call us anytime, would you?
All right, little buddy.
Hey, thank you, Skipper. Appreciate it.
Okay, good talking to you guys.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you.
Mario, so true. It was a lot of it was the parents' attitude, and I'm so glad and so grateful that my parents had that attitude.
Sure.
In fact, it wasn't just my parents; it was all the neighborhood kids' family, their parents too.
I do not remember. I do not, and I reference playing in the ditch because if you played war, because back then Combat was a big TV show, and F Troop was a comedy about that, but Rap Patrol, so you play in there, coming out and with the guns and making believe and playing war, whatever. But the ditch was in front of my house was kind of either you try to ride your bike and jump over like Evel Knievel, whatever. But I never remember my mother, who's probably at home watching now. I don't remember my mother being on the porch ever with Neosporin at the ready. I just don't remember that.
Or
she had things to do. She was busy inside. Maybe I came in later with a tremendo cortada. Well, Ma, look, I don't know what happened here, but now you see the commercials with the mothers at the park with the Neosporin and the thing, and I don't know what's going on
I tell my mother, hey, Mom, I'm going swimming in the lake, and she'd say, well, just remember, you don't know how to swim. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for the reminder.
What is that all about? We got one on line 4.
We do. Let's go.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Karen. I'm calling from Tampa.
Well, hey, Karen, we got our first girl call. Go ahead, Karen. We love to hear your stories of hijinks.
Okay.
Childhood hijinks.
I'm back to the boxes. One of the callers called in about the boxes.
Casey, the caller just before you. Come on, give us your box story, your big cardboard box story.
Absolutely. When they were building Interstate 75, my grandmother lived in Seminole Heights. And she got a new refrigerator, and we used to slide down the side, what would now be the side ramps of the interstate.
It's not like fun.
Because the only other hill in park was the only other hill in town was at McFarland Park.
Right, and we rolled down that hill of plenty too, didn't we?
Pardon me?
And we rolled down that hill of plenty, or we took our bikes
down that interstate, down the sides of the interstate.
My.
That's not like
What was at the bottom of that hill? Was it a fence? Was it traffic? What was going on down there?
The street.
Okay, just the street.
Just cars.
Absolutely. And Steve, I will not tell you the stories of what I used to do with your sister when we were young.
Really?
Okay.
However, we did have our own version of your cannons, except we would shoot the little orange balls that grow on some of the palm trees.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Karen?
Harder than the oranges.
Karen?
Have ammo wars with the orange balls from the trees, and we would shoot them.
That's what we did.
From inside Christmas tree forts that we would make in Riverside Heights.
Oh my gosh.
Karen, can you hear me okay?
I think I can hear you.
I want to interject this because you may not be able to pick this up. I'm sitting about 2 feet from Steve here in the studio, and he has this look on his face like the old show, This Is Your Life. Because when you said,
it does.
I'm not going to tell you what I used to do with your sister. He sat back and said, oh my. And then it was like, and we used to do this, and he's trying. I can see the wheels turning. Who is this? Who is this? You want to tell him your last name so he knows?
My name's Karen Garcia Patterson.
Oh,
there you go.
Karen,
Thank
okay.
you so much.
You know, Karen, I had a feeling it was you. Wasn't quite sure, though.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure which sister either.
But anyway,
But now you know.
this is
Oh, yeah.
way before I knew Kathy, when we used to have the ammo wars roll down the interstate. And we used to build Christmas tree forts. And
Every year we did that, too.
I said we lived in Riverside Heights. And so they would build forts at Joe Duran Park.
Right?
And we lived next door to the Grecos. And we would always build a larger fort than the park folks would build. We were like the rebels. So we had our own Christmas tree fort in an empty lot, which is now where I believe David Greco lives there.
You're right, Karen. We'd have competing forts to see who had the best and bigger fort, and then we'd have wars between the one Christmas tree fort to the other.
Absolutely.
But the things we did.
And that's about the worst thing that I ever did was with one of my neighbors whose father was a chiropractor. We would roll up the x-rays and try to smoke them.
Oh, really?
As in sending smoke signals like go, go, gophers? Or try to smoke them to get a funny feeling in your head? I'm not following you there.
I remember hiding behind the bushes, rolling up the x-rays, and trying to smoke them. Luckily, we did not know how to inhale.
Yes, I'm assuming, because probably we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, Karen. I mean, that's pretty out
Or
there.
it'd be a little different.
That's pretty advanced. All right, Karen. So far, Karen's out to the early lead for the smoking of the x-rays story. Thank you so much, Karen, for calling.
Thank you, Karen.
And please call back anytime. If you tell your friends about the show, and if any of the topics resonate with you, please call back and share with us. We really, really appreciate that call. That was wonderful.
And we're really enjoying it.
Good,
Thank you guys
good.
for everything you do.
It's very
Excellent.
rewarding for us as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mario, we have an email here. We got a few, actually.
Hang on, caller. We see you on the line. Stand by. We're coming to you next.
This is from Maria Rosen. I can't top your cannon story, Steve, but as young children, my cousin and I would walk by ourselves from Capal's Park area to TG&Y at Fiesta Plaza with $1 to buy candy. I would never think of letting my daughter do the same in this day and age. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying a second ago about how this world is so different from before.
Right.
You know, and in fact, I used to walk home from kindergarten from St. Lawrence Elementary School, maybe a half a mile through the woods, through a ditch, but kindergarten, walk home.
That's
It's incredible.
It is a different time, and I think part and parcel is why the show has kind of caught on and connected with so many people. I mean, we're hearing this from the community. We get this on emails all the time and talking to our friends and neighbors. It's such a different time.
Yeah.
And the show takes us back. And for a minute, I would issue this challenge to anybody who's out there in TV land watching us now. And Steve, we talked about this earlier today.
True.
Anybody who's out there and thinks they can give us a call here and tell us a story without smiling, yeah, I don't think you can do it, because
Not so much.
I tell you real quick, caller, stay right there. I'm going to tell you a real quick side story. I was at the Florida Blood Services the other day doing my donation thing, and which is a good thing if anybody's out there and thinking about doing it. And I was out there and we were having a conversation with another donor who was just sitting there in the donor room, and we struck up a conversation. And the next thing you know, he's telling me, after I told him about the show and the premise of this week's topic, he's telling me about these BB gun wars that he used to have with his friends when he was growing up. And the thing is, he had the biggest smile on his face. And it was very gratifying for me too, because I'm thinking, this is working. This is really working. Let's get this next call.
Let's go ahead. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, Mario, it's Philip Testa.
Hey,
there he
Mr.
is.
Testa, how are you?
Good. You're talking about stories. I've got a good one.
Tell us, please.
All right. Back when Tampa was a small town,
Okay.
right? And I was about 5 or 6 years old, which was about, 59, 60 years ago.
Okay.
And I had a little puppy that got lost. And my mother and father, they traveled all over the area. I grew up in Sulphur Springs. And they were looking for the puppy and the dog, But they couldn't find him, so I got on the phone and called Dick Greco.
Wow.
Dick Greco sent 3 squad cars to my house.
Wow.
All right? And the policemen went all over, and they found my dog.
Wow.
That's just telling you what a great town this used to be.
That was a small town.
And a happy ending to that story,
Yeah.
Mr.
What
Testa.
a great ending.
That's awesome.
That's terrific. Well,
Yeah. I want to congratulate you, man. Great show. Keep up the good work, and I will watch you every week.
and we really appreciate you being out there, Mr. Testa. Thanks so much for calling in and sharing that story.
All right, Mario.
Call anytime.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. That was great.
That was...
And he's absolutely right because, you know, well, we don't have any calls. Can I throw one out there real quick? I spent the night at a friend's house. I guess I was 12. You know, we used to do that a lot back then. You know, we go over and spend nights at a friend's house, and you have friends over at your house. This particular night, I spent the night with a friend. He had another friend over. There were 3 of us there, 12 years old, circa 1970-ish. And you know, we stayed up late because we're, you know, supervision, blah, blah, blah. And somebody gets the bright idea at about 2 in the morning, maybe 1. Hey, man, let's go for a bike ride. Now, this house was like Bay to Bay, McDill, down there by Dud Thames bike shop, you know, back, you know, South Hyde Park. We rode our bikes, and I don't know if I ever told my parents this story, but they're listening now. We rode our bikes all the way from down there to where my parents' house was. I remember distinctly like it was yesterday riding my bike, the bike that I had borrowed from this guy. In front of my parents' house, it's like 4:30 in the morning, 4:45, and I'm thinking, if my mother comes out now to get the newspaper, I'm done. And then we quickly scampered back, and in the interim, we stopped at the IHOP on Dale Mabry. We had maybe between us $1.50. We walked in there like big shots at 3 in the morning. Past curfew, we're looking around for cops. Big shots. We sat there. The waitress came up to us, you know, the classic waitress. How you doing, boys? What are you doing? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. We're not supposed to be there. She gave us 3 glasses of milk, and we split a big cinnamon bun like this that she heated up for us. We ate that, and then we went back. I never told anybody about that, but to do that today, brother?
Totally different world.
To do that today?
Oh, no, there's no way.
Oh, my. Let's go.
No, it's another caller.
Line 4. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Fran Costantino, and I thought I would just call in and lower my TV so that y'all can hear me.
Thanks, Fran.
Thanks, Fran, because there's a little bit of a delay and it'll throw you off. Thank you for calling.
Okay, well, it will be the Tampa Natives featuring Fran Costantino next week.
Very good, very good.
I just call in and tell y'all a little funny story how Tampa is so big with bureaucracy right now, but in the days of Nick Nucio,
okay,
when I was young, I had asthma very, very bad. We lived on a shell street on Gomez and Cordelia, and would open the windows because it was so hot with no air conditioning, and the shell and the dust would blow in the house. So finally one day I got so sick, my father made a call to Nick Nucio and said, hey, Nick, my daughter's got asthma, I need help here. At 6:30 the next morning,
wow,
we got woken up by the noise, and the street had asphalt in it and was repaved by noon the next Saturday.
Oh, that's an incredible story, Fran.
Yeah, that's just like the story Mr. Testa was sharing with us a minute ago, when literally a phone call could be made, and results were, you know, garnered the next day. That was a wonderful time to have grown up here. I mean, we talked about it today at lunch, Fran. I mean, our city has changed considerably and arguably gotten maybe too big. But those of us that were here back in those days, I think we really had something special going on. I was talking to Ted about that today, Ted Webb, and I'm not trying to drop names on people out here, but I had a conversation with Buck Delatoria also about youth baseball in Tampa, playing youth baseball in Tampa. And, you know, it was a safe place. It was controlled. Everybody knew everybody. We all had 4-foot chain link fence so that when you were out in the back hanging your clothes, you know, and the neighbor was doing the same thing, you know, there was community. And everybody looked after each other.
Right, right.
Well,
Different world.
I want to congratulate you, too, and tell you to please keep doing what you're doing, because we are enjoying the memories that we're all sharing.
That's great to hear, Fran.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you so much for inspiring us to keep doing what we're doing.
All right, we'll
Thank
see
you
you for lunch.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for calling, too.
Thank you, Fran.
Mario, you mentioned something a minute ago
Tell me.
about friend's house, staying at the friend's house.
Right.
Not only did we stay at friend's house, but we would actually take turns sleeping in the backyards of friend's house. We'd go camping in our neighbors' backyards, our kids. And we'd take turns. We'd build a little pit in the middle of the yard. We'd have a little firewood. We'd collect firewood all day. And that was roast marshmallows, maybe cook some fish or hot dogs, and sleep there all night, you know, open air.
Ingenious.
It was just great.
Creative, ingenious.
Yeah.
And I have a story similar to that, too. When I remember having a buddy of mine from junior high, 7th grade, spend the night, and I thought we were going to do the same kind of a thing. Man, we were going to be in the backyard and, you know, camp out. And I wasn't much for camping, but I thought, well, I'll give it a go. I mean, I was never a Boy Scout or any of that, but you know what? He brought over a tent. I didn't have one. He brought over a tent. It was a canvas tent, as I remember. And it was probably circa, I don't know, 1948 canvas tent. It was a little musty. It smelled like it might have come out of World War II. And it was one of those real small ones, you know, like the ones you see on the Flintstones.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're always setting up the little ones with a little stick in the middle. And I remember it was during the summer. It was plenty hot. And we slept outside. And about halfway through that night, I was sleeping half on the grass with my body outside, the other half inside the tent. And I was wondering what possessed me ever to do that. But again, kudos to our parents who let us, you know, have a go at that stuff. Now today you have all the equipo. Today now you have a tremendous tent. You throw it out there and it boom, it pops itself up, and you know they're fabulous, and it's the neoprene, the lightweight stuff, and they're ventilated and cross ventilated. But who's going to spend the night outside in their yard?
We just slept in the grass, you know, maybe sleeping bag, if that. All right, we got a call, another caller.
Here we go. Take this one, Steve.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Betty.
Betty?
Hi, Betty.
Hi, Betty.
Hi. And you guys are youngsters, according to what I remember. I grew
thank
up
you.
in Seminole Heights
Okay.
on East Chelsea.
Very good. Tell us what you remember about the hijinks you guys used to do back in your day.
Well, in our day, we didn't have a refrigerator. We had an ice box.
Icebox.
And the ice man would come about twice a week and bring us 50 pounds of ice.
Okay.
And we'd just wait on that ice truck to come, and we'd jump on the back of it and eat ice that was left in the back of the truck. It had a wooden body frame, and we'd eat the shivers of ice that were left in there from him chopping it, making blocks out of it.
Betty, is there any chance at all that you might have pictures from that era, from that time that you're referring to? Is there any chance that somebody had a camera going at that time?
Not of the ice truck, but we've got, you know, pictures of the neighborhood there and everything.
We'd love for you to send those to us, because we will show them here on the screen behind us. We've got pictures that, you know, we like to flash up there every now and again. And these pictures that you're talking about, Betty, we had a gentleman today tell us, he actually showed us a picture of his great-grandma washing clothes in a tub circa 1925 in Belmont Heights, and it's an amazing photograph, and we're going to show that. If you have anything similar to that, we'd love to show your photos as well.
Absolutely.
And I graduated from Hillsborough High School in 1950.
1950?
Wow.
Yeah.
Betty, can I ask you a question? Look, there's a photograph right there that might look familiar to some folks. Betty, if you're still with us?
Yeah.
You said 1950?
She don't know my father.
Do you by chance remember the high school superstar quarterback for your Hillsborough Terriers in 1950? If you do, that would be one Steve Cannella. That's Steve's father. Do you remember that gentleman by chance?
Who was the high school football coach then?
Was it? I don't remember the coach's name.
Was it Coach Spoto? But the quarterback of the football team back then in 1950 was a gentleman by the name of Cannella, and that just happened to be Steve's dad.
Yeah,
I just wondered if you might have remembered that. If you
I don't remember him. I remember Buggo Griffin
Okay.
and Coach Hornell, of course.
That sounds
Okay.
familiar.
And
Yeah.
Dick Spoto.
And Dick
Yeah,
Spoto.
yeah.
Betty, how did you find out about this show? I'm just curious.
My niece told me about it. She's sitting right here with me watching it.
And tell
She
us.
was from Seminole Heights, too. Her name is Karen, and she went to Hillsborough.
Hillsborough as well.
Okay.
Is that the Karen that called in earlier?
Was
I'm
it
wondering?
Karen Garcia?
No, this is Karen. Her maiden name was Biggs.
Biggs, Karen
Okay.
Biggs. What year did
Okay.
Karen graduate? We're just curious.
Karen, what year did you graduate? 1963.
63.
Wow.
Okay,
Great.
wonderful.
That's awesome.
Listen, we're so pleased that you guys have found us. You know, we're out there on that big social networking site, and we know a lot of people are connecting with us through that site. But the reality is, you know, a lot of people are just finding us through word of mouth, through the newspaper
are.
article that came out. Also, you know, friends are telling friends. We'd like to ask you to do the same for us, Betty, and tell your friends, because we'll be here every week for the next 11 weeks doing our thing. So we'd love to have you call back.
Okay, will do.
Thank you, Betty. Thanks
Betty.
so much for being there
Thanks
and
for
sharing your story. Good night to Karen as well.
Good night, Karen, he said.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Wow, look at that photo.
Oh, wow, look at that Chan's
Remember
Hobby
Chan's?
Shop. Have mercy. Can you get us out of there for just a minute? Oh, look at that.
Remember the wagons?
Look
at the radio flyers.
Look at the radio flyers stacked in front. Look at that old truck, for
Wow.
crying out loud.
Wow.
What an incredible picture.
To the left of the wagons, that's those little cars that we used to
The
have.
little cars with the pedal cars.
Yeah, with the
You get in
pedals.
there and
Remember those?
Yeah, I had, everybody had
You
one of
know,
those, the hard metal ones, and I remember trying to jump a ramp with those, and I never got up there.
They're worth a lot of money now.
Oh, if you could have one of those, my goodness, my
That's-
goodness. Absolutely. I mean, that is a classic photograph. Thank you so much for putting that up there, Jeff. Thank you so much.
That brings back a lot of memories too.
Yes, it does.
Oh.
Well, who's coming in
Look who it
here?
is.
That 15-minute girl. Look at, she's letting us know. 15 minutes to go. Whoops. Well, hello. There's our little Tampa Bay Rays homage right there. Thank you, 15-minute girl.
Those are 15 minutes of fame.
For taking care of that business. Oh, wait a minute.
This brings back a lot of memories here.
Look at this one.
Little General?
Look at the Little General. Were you a Little General guy or a 7-Eleven guy?
I was a Little General guy because we would always go there. That's how we got our money, was cashing in bottles at Little General.
Yeah, you collect bottles.
We collect bottles, go
turn
cash them in. Then we buy an icy or a Slurpee. Well, no, it was a Slurpee, right?
Slurpee,
right,
Little
that's
General.
right.
Icy was 7-Eleven. Look
That's
at that.
right.
Look at how wide open that front is there. You couldn't have a store like that open.
Yeah, look at that.
79 cents a gallon for milk.
Wow.
What's going on here, Big Dan? I can't even look at that store. Look at the car there too. That's 1940s.
Wow, that's amazing.
The store all wide open. Is that a phone booth there?
That's an open front. That's a phone booth.
Wow, great photograph, Jeffrey. Thank you for putting that up there.
Good memories.
I know there's some people at home going right now. I used to go. Look at that street.
Oh, it's the concrete.
See the
concrete street marker, like the one on the last picture.
That's so cool. Those concrete street markers were still around in the late 60s, even early 70s, if you were lucky enough to have one in your neighborhood. And what I remember about those distinctly is we had one on the corner of our block. If you went up to it and you rubbed your hands on it like that, you just kind of rub your hands on it,
real
the white
chalky.
chalk would
Oh,
come
yeah,
off.
all over your hands.
And then you can go put it on somebody's shirt. It was
I
just
sure
a
remember
mess.
that. And the darker the shirt, the better.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow.
The photos are coming hot and heavy
Yeah,
now.
look at this. Anybody know what this is?
First caller to identify this photograph wins.
813-254-7820. We have time for another couple calls. And we'll give a couple more seconds here to see if they
call
can
in
guess
and
this.
tell us your story. Any more emails, Steve, while we're checking?
I'm looking now, Mario, and we have, let's see.
Look at that photograph. I know exactly where that is. Even without prompting, I knew where that was.
And that place is still around.
Oh, still around. And I'll give you a little hint. My family used to celebrate, as well as other families used to celebrate Easter Sunday there many, many, many years in a row. Here we go. Caller on line 4. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Oops.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, Mario. It's Sean Reed.
Well, hey, Sean-Ree, how are you?
I'm good. How are
Hey,
you?
Sean.
We've talked to you before.
Yes.
Thank you so much for calling. Are you going to identify that photograph?
Well, of course, that's Lowry Park.
Well, Lowry Park. Hello, Sean-Ree. Stevie, tell her what she's won.
Well, she's won a new T-shirt.
A new T-shirt? Maybe
right.
if Steve has a T-shirt to give you, because I don't have one to give you. I was just going to say you want a toast. I'm going to drink this to you.
Okay. No, actually, seriously, I called in to say a couple things, like you said, things that it's amazing we survived.
Absolutely.
Oh, I know, it's true.
But a couple things that we did growing up in the neighborhood. Of course, I grew up near USF, the University of South Florida.
Correct.
And the kids in my neighborhood and I, we used to always hang out, play football in the street or in the corner, do tree tag. One of the things we used to do that's amazing we survived is one of the games of hide and seek that we had. We actually hid in gopher holes, the ones, unfortunately, that, used to have the big tortoises or gophers inside.
Yes.
Wow.
Of course, we didn't think about it at the time, but that's also where rattlesnakes curled up in the
Yeah,
bottom.
that's right.
Amazing that, none of us ever...
Who knew?
Well, they're more afraid of you than you are of them.
Exactly. And then probably the other story, too, is that USF, I think on the property there, they used to have where they had done some phosphate mining years back.
Right.
There was a big, huge, like a lake, a pond, basically, and, we were always told by my mom not to go there, and of course, so we did anyway. And we weren't going to get in the water so that she wouldn't know we were there, so we decided to take a big, looked like an orange crate, and I think 3 of us, my sister, myself, and another girl, Pam, got in and thought we would just paddle across the water, not realizing with the slats there, it's going to sink.
Forgive me for laughing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, of course, you tried to wait to get home and walk really slow so she wouldn't know we were wet and we wouldn't have to identify what we said. So, yeah, absolutely.
And oh, by the way, Sean-Ree, before we have to let you go, sweetie, I just want to tell you,
Go ahead.
have you been listening to the show the whole night?
Yeah.
The story that I was telling about the bicycle that happened to somebody near and dear to both of us. I'll just leave it at
I
that.
had an assumption that might be...
I'm not going to share any names because I know that's unfair.
I had a feeling. I think I heard
Unfair, but I just have to tell you, I was there when that happened, and it was just an amazing sight to see that happen.
All right, anyway, okay, take care, you guys.
Thanks for
Thank
calling.
you, Sean-Ree.
All right, bye-bye.
We
Mario,
have to comment on this picture.
We got to talk about this picture.
We have a few minutes left of the show, but this has to... Go ahead, Steve.
This picture is amazing. This kind of exemplifies what we were saying earlier about our parents' attitude about things we did. And I mean, in this case here, and in many cases, I'm sure, parents probably said, hey, get up on the elephant. Put the chimpanzee on your back.
The chimp on your back.
That'll make a great picture. But that was before the chimpanzee strangled you and the elephant trampled you to death, you know. But
Steve, look at the size of that chimpanzee's arm.
I mean,
if that chimpanzee went nuts for a minute and just grabbed that little girl, she would have no chance.
Oh, no.
And by the time anybody got to her to try to save her, I mean, you could not do that today. First of all, there's no handler in sight.
No.
There's no chain around that pen. I mean, this is just an amazing photograph on so many different levels. But yeah, I mean, that that chimpanzee is probably twice the size of the little girl.
Oh, yeah. And that's literally having a monkey on your back, I guess.
Steve, you promised me you wouldn't say that. But the reality is, you know, it wasn't too long ago there was an incident in California where a lady got her face ripped off by a monkey like that.
They're strong.
By a chimpanzee. They're incredibly strong. Their hands are incredibly strong. Anyway, thank you so much for putting that picture up there. We've got about 8 minutes to go. And this is the time, Stevie, when we have to do a couple of things real quick. First of all, we already did our shout out to our Tampa Bay Rays and offering them congratulations on clinching their second playoff spot in 3 years. We want to go ahead and take a quick minute to do our Bolita drawing.
Definitely,
we have two contestants this week. And listen, y'all, I know you're out there watching. You're sending us some fabulous emails. We read most of them early in part of the show. When you send an email, if you think about it, just put a number on there. You don't even have to put, this is my lucky number. We'll assume that it is. Because, I mean, we've got 2 people that are in the drawing this week. So one of those 2 has got a 50-50 chance of coming away with a T-shirt. So here we go.
Mark, tell them the numbers, 1 through 75.
1 through 75.
So.
These are bingo balls, 1 through 75. So the contestants this week are Edie Strickland. Good luck, Edie. Your number is 14. And Onelio and Irene Ochoa. Good luck, your number is 73. It's closest to without going over. Stevie, do what you do.
Here it goes. 58.
The number is 58, closest to without going over. That would be Onelio and Irene Ochoa. Tell them what they've won, Stevie.
She won the showcase.
Won the showcase. And in this case, it's a T-shirt, a fabulous T-shirt. It's a Rays T-shirt.
How appropriate.
That'll be coming your way. We need to get an email from you so we can send that to you, and the postman will know where to deliver it, or I can just drop it by the house. I mean, you're still in the same house that you've been in for all those years. Thank you for sending that number in. Now, we want to also mention that for next week, this is going to be next week's grand prize. It's going to be one of our Tampa Natives jerseys. Fabulous jersey, raglan sleeve, 3/4, ready for fall weather, and the back shows our sponsor, which is the Columbia Restaurant, the original Tampa Native since 1905. Mr. Gonsmart, if you're out there watching, thank you again for supporting our show and for being our wonderful sponsor. We've got pictures, we got lots of pictures, but before we get to those pictures, Steve, I got an idea.
What is it, Mario?
Well, I'll tell you what. Do you think you might know anybody out there in TV land that might want to join us here on the production team?
Mario, I can't think of anyone at the moment, but I'd sure like to get someone.
And so would I. So maybe what we can do is we can put out an all-call on that social networking site and ask if anybody out there would like to join us on the team. Now, what is involved in that, you might ask, Stevie?
Well, mainly it's just it's taking some classroom hours and becoming a certified technician to help us on the show, to help set up and run the show for us. So if you want to go to tampanatives.com, we'll put that that message out there, and
yeah, I think it would be great. So if you're out there and you've got Wednesday nights free and you might want to participate with us here in studio, we'd love to have you join us.
Exactly.
It's just a question of your time, and we need some help, I guess you'd say, setting up our microphones, helping us with our sound check. It's really, really simple stuff, but you'll get an inside look at this production every week. And I tell you what, the pay is not real good, but we're real thankful and gracious people and fun people to work with, and Yeah, I have to point out that there's no pay, my director's telling me. There really isn't. It's all volunteer. But listen, if you would like to be around Steve and I and you'd like to participate in this production, we need at least one more person. 2 would be wonderful, but certainly at least one more person.
And
anyway,
have fun.
So with that said, Steve, I got to also say, listen, we're almost to the end of September, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out a happy birthday, to a collective happy birthday to all those September birthdays, of which I'm one. So happy birthday to all our September birthdays, and for 2 reasons I point this out. Number 1, well, September birthdays rock, let's face it. And number 2, we knew what your parents were doing on Christmas and New Year's the year before you were born, if you know what I'm saying. So happy birthday to all our September birthdays. Exactly. And October's coming up, so stay tuned. You're next. You're on the clock, right around the corner. Steve, what a great show, huh?
Amazing, Mario. Great topic, too. And just a quick reminder, too, to see some more of these wonderful pictures, go to tampanatives.com, and you'll see quite a few of them. There's the ones we're looking at here, but also many, many more. And
what's that there, Steve?
Oh, wait a minute. Jeff, can we take a look at that picture?
Is that the Hurricane Hell Drivers at the
I think
Florida
it
State
is.
Fair?
I think it's the Joey Chitwood
Oh,
race.
wow.
I think it is.
Take off my glasses so I can see that better.
There it is.
There you go.
And that was at the State Fairgrounds, right?
That's the State Fairgrounds.
That's right.
That's the Fairgrounds pavilion right there where everybody used to sit.
Remember how loud it was, Mario, at the fair at the time when those were
racing?
racing?
Those IMCA sprint cars went around the track. It was
loud.
Amazingly loud. And I can remember, talk about crazy things we used to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when they were racing and you'd hear it and you're in the midway, go, wow, let's go look at the race. So you'd run up to the wall and you'd look over the wall through that big grating fence because the wall was about 4 foot high and then there was fence all the way up for 10 feet. And if you didn't duck at just the right moment, Steve, when those things came around, you would get a face full, if not a mouthful, and an eye full of clay, and it would sting like hell because the clay would, it was being shot up from the tires. Mm-hmm. Oh my. And say nothing of the fact that what if the car went out of control and crashed into the fence and you're standing on the other side of it. Now, what are we looking at here, Steve?
Mario, talking about things we did as a kid, crazy things. This is a Floorland Drive-In screen, basically. There's a little swing set next to it, if you can see that below. But does that bring back some memories as far as crazy things we did as kids?
I got to tell you something. I've never seen this photo before. I thought I'd seen all of our photos before. This is a wonderful photograph. What happened to drive-ins? And speaking of drive-ins, talking about another crazy thing we used to do, Mom, Dad, what were you thinking when you put that little citronella coil in the dashboard there in the middle of a summer night, trying to asphyxiate the whole family? That's as bad as getting on our bikes and riding behind the mosquito truck. And we used to do that too. How did we ever get here? We've got one caller. We've got 2 minutes to go.
Let's see if we can do it.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and be real quick about it.
Call in. I saw that thing on the green screen behind you guys, but the Floorland Drive-In.
Yes, right there.
You know, you got to get a picture of the back row. That's where we all came in at, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the front. Is that the front where you exited?
Yeah, by the screen, but everyone was hung out in the back.
Of course.
I'm only kidding. What?
And caller, tell us where you're calling from.
Orlando, Big Mike.
Oh, it's Mike again.
Mike,
Thank you, Mikey. Mikey, we got to let you go because we're going to sign off here in about 1 minute. Our director tells us we got about 1 minute to go, but you're right. And listen, we'll look for your call next week.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
That's great.
Well, Steve,
Mario,
another great show, my man. Remember to tell your friends. Here comes the picture of the Big Orange. We didn't have this up last week when we talked about restaurants, but look at it right there. How about that?
Look at that.
The Big Orange.
And that was on Kennedy Boulevard.
Well, there was the Big Orange and the Little Beaver. I'm not going to say it anymore. That's it. That's the last reference.
Enough said.
Beautiful picture. Thank you so much, everybody, for calling in today and for participating. Steve and I are going to promise to keep coming back each and every week until we get this right, and I think we're getting closer and closer. What do you say?
I say so. And also, thanks for calling. Keep calling, keep watching, and keep remembering, too.
And keep remembering. Send us those emails. Like I said, Steve and I are really pleased to be doing this and bringing these memories to you each and every week, and we'll be back again next week as well. Thanks for pulling that lucky number, partner. You did real good with that.
Number 58, that's perfect. Thanks for tuning in, folks. This has been great.
So until next week.